Well, I hope you've had fun applying these special effects to your objects on your page. The last effect that I want to show you is how you can create rounded corners on your objects. Typically things like buttons or divs, things like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round the corners on my red div that I have sitting here in the middle of my page. I did make some adjustments to my code, which I want to show you here. All I did is I threw some margin on there just to help me center the object a little bit. So there's that auto trick again, by the way. So margin top and bottom is 40 pixels. Left and right, I've said auto. So in other words, automatically figure out how much space should be on either side, which centers the object, which is fantastic. And now I want to go and round the corners on this guy. Now, prior to CSS3, pulling something like this off meant going into Photoshop and creating these tiny little corner graphics and getting them placed in the div exactly where they needed to be. It was such a headache. Now we can pull it off with a single property. It's awesome. Here's the property. Inside my code, I'm looking for that red div that I've gone and created. This is the example that I'm going to use here anyway. And here's the property. It's a tricky one. Border-radius. Just like that. Full colon space, throw in a value like 10 pixels, followed by the semicolon. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's awesome. Save it up, back over to the browser and refresh. Bang. We have rounded corners on this object. How do you like that? And of course, I can come in here and I can change this value to whatever I want, maybe 30. Go back, save, refresh. There we go. Something like that, right? Awesome stuff. So easy to work with. Now, what I could do, if I wanted to, is I could specify values for the different corners. So in other words, different values for each corner. Notice that I've set 30 and I'm getting a border radius of 30 on all four corners. Maybe for some bizarre reason, I want different radius values for the different corners. So how would I pull that off? Well, I'm going to come back into my code. And as always, I'm going to break this onto another line just to help you follow along here a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and set 4 different values. Maybe I'll do something like 10 pixels, 30 pixels, followed by 10 pixels, followed by 30 pixels. So how it works here is the first value is the top left, the second value is the top right, the third value is the bottom right, and the fourth value is the bottom left. Now I wind up with something like this inside my browser, which is pretty darn snazzy, pretty darn cool stuff. Again, it didn't require a trip into Photoshop. This is all pure CSS. Now, you know where this would be really cool is if we applied it to our buttons across the top. Let's go do it. Pretty easy to pull off. Let's go and find our class rule button. There he is. And I'm going to go and throw on, oh yeah, I had all my box shadow and all that stuff. You know what? I'm going to get rid of all that stuff. And I'm just going to go border-radius. There we go. Full colon space. Maybe I'll try 5 pixels, just like that. Save, back over, refresh. The drop shadow is now gone, and now I have these lovely curved corners or rounded corners on all of my buttons, just like that. Maybe I'll crank that up just a little bit so you can see that maybe a little bit better on screen. Awesome stuff. Isn't that cool? All using CSS. Now, if you're concerned about browser support, again, for previous versions of some of the more common web browsers, what I can do is I can take my border radius and I can throw in those go-arounds, those extras. So I'm going to paste this in twice here, and I'm going to throw in -moz, -border, -radius. So that's for my Mozilla browsers, Firefox, Camino. And I'm going to take the second copy that I pasted there, and I'm going to go WebKit, -border, -radius. And that's for Safari and Chrome, which is wonderful. Now, these aren't really needed anymore. The major browsers are now supporting border radius. But again, you might want to stick them in there just in case. So there you go. There's how you can achieve rounded corners using CSS.